Shoulder training seems simple. You think you're gonna go into the gym and just like any other body part, you're gonna choose 3 to 4 exercises, you're gonna hit it hard, and all of a sudden your shoulders are going to grow. But the truth is, shoulder training is not that simple. Your shoulder joint is your most delicate joint. It's affected by a lot of other joints, and so we wanna be really, really careful about the angles from which we're lifting, how we're doing our presses, and how we're doing all our exercises. If you don't do that, then in the long term, you might be setting yourself up for aches and pains, and you're not going to see the shoulder gains that you really, really want. So that's why we want to avoid these 4 beginner mistakes. Mistake number 1 in your shoulder training, you are doing your overhead presses with your elbows flared out. Now, when we're in that position, we need a whole ton of mid-back stability, and if we don't have that, or if our arms tip forward ever so slightly, we're putting our shoulder at risk for a ton of injury. So it's not worth pressing out there, and it's not as natural for our bodies. It's also gonna lead us to arch our back sometimes. The better way to press, let's get our elbows into about a 45-degree angle. And this works whether you're doing this with dumbbells, whether you're using tables, whether you're using barbells or kettlebells. Let's get our arms at that 45-degree angle. It's called the scapular plane, and by pressing in this area, we're gonna be a lot safer for our shoulders for the long term, and we're gonna be able to move more weight too. Mistake number 2, you're doing your lateral raises way too high. So the lateral raise is a great exercise for the outer head of our delt, but a lot of times people try to come too high, and I've actually seen people try to bring their arms all the way up to their head. I have no idea what you're doing when you do that. The point of greatest tension on the outer head of your shoulder when you do a lateral raise occurs when your wrist is parallel to your shoulder. Any higher than that, we're starting to get our traps involved, and we're also removing tension from our shoulders. So it ceases to be a constant tension idea on the lateral raise, and the higher we get, the more we just start to rest. So when you're doing your lateral raises, instead of going too high, or instead of letting your wrists get over your shoulders, think about keeping your wrists ever so slightly below your shoulders. Even if you pause for a split second there, hang out there for a split second, enjoy that feeling, and then go on to your next rep. So don't go too high, stop it parallel or slightly below. Mistake number 3, you have bought into the myth of the empty can. Now, the empty can is an exercise that emerged in bodybuilding as a way to stimulate our rear delts because we want some meat back there. And so what people did is they started flipping their thumbs downward, and then from there doing their lateral raises and front raises. Now, in theory, they're thinking that this hits the rear delt. All it really does, if you just make the motion right now, it hurts me already. It's just causing you pain. It's not setting you up for gains. So we want to get rid of that move and instead focus on more targeted rear delt exercises that aren't going to create internal rotation. We're going to do things like rear delt flies, machine rear delt flies, and even go back to your old school back exercises. Those are a better alternative than the empty can. And the biggest possible mistake you could be making in your shoulder training, you're just doing it too much. Remember back to the top when we started, your shoulder is a delicate joint, and it's also getting trained when we train all our other body parts. Your shoulders get work when we are bench pressing, your rear delts are getting plenty of work when we're doing our back exercises, and your shoulders also play a stabilizing role when you're doing any kind of squat and even when we're training our arms. So we don't need to pile on 3 and 4 exercises like we do for other body parts because our shoulders get all that extra work and they aren't necessarily meant to take a pounding. So instead of having a full shoulder day, let's tack it onto the end of one of our other workouts, whether that's pushing or that's arms or that's back, and let's only choose 2 exercises. We're gonna go with an overhead press variation, that way we get that good power and we can move some weight, and then choose a detail exercise, whether that's a lateral raise or a rear delt fly. So by limiting all that shoulder volume, we're gonna keep our shoulders healthier. We're still gonna build the power and strength that we want. We're still gonna get that great shoulder visual that we want. And on top of that, we're gonna look like a pro in the gym every time we train shoulders.